for me, this social welfare system that Finland has had is a fair exchange, right? Because I put my work in the commons. If I get support from the commons, as in taxpayers of Finland, I put back into the commons, right? Because I'm from the open source cultural mindset, not pro-copyright one. So that's one point to make. I have experimented over the years, especially with Pixelike Festival, experimented with alternative economics. I even made a seminar in the 2009 festival called Alternative Economy Cultures. And the keynote speakers were peer funded. It means we invited them from international locations, USA and Belgium, and their flights and their fees was covered by people giving small amounts of money. So it was in the days of crowdfunding. So I know you can do culture on this basis as well. You don't need one big chunk of money, you need lots of little chunks of money. And you can do the same thing. So with that experience behind me, I thought, okay, there are challenges with getting public cultural funds to a semi-public, some people might say, private address. I have not got any public funds for this purpose of doing anything in Kitchen Lab Tarvo. I did get a Corona grant to experiment with online radio and audio. I used it for equipment. But since then, and since 2020, I've had no personal funding. So it means that I've got associational funding, I've got project funding, but not anything for me. Which is fine. I'm of a certain age where that's maybe going to happen. But the point is that because of making culture in a home venue, it's unlikely you're going to get public funding. Of course, I've tried for projects, but it's never happened. So I have focused more on the peer funding, which means using Patreon.com, a US, actually California-based company.
There was a European version of that.
There is.
Coffee dot.
Yeah, there's been many types of platforms like this. Patreon I use because it's quite common. Let's be fair.
Know most about that one,
yeah.
I think.
It's Anglospheric, which means that in Finland it's not used so much. It's more used in UK and USA. It's changing because they have offered more tools and facilities for their subscription fee, basically. The problem it has maybe is that you have to be you have to make an account, right, to give money to people. So you're somehow committing into that system. But anyway, I have used this. And over the few years, I started in 2020. I paused for a year or two, I think in 21, 22, and I started again in 2023. So over the years, I've had a fluctuating income from this. It's not a big income. So it's been a small income from maybe 40 to 80 euros a month, which has allowed me to pay my bills. Not my rent, but my bills.
Obviously.
Right? To know electricity and maybe your waste management bills, maybe your internet bill. This would be quite reasonable type of support to just help keep it along, right? There has been times where I have been commissioned to write article, or I did a presentation once for a university and I got paid via Patreon. I've had some supporters, most of them are friends, by the way, who have given more money because they really like what I do here. And on some occasions I have got quite a lot of money from one or two persons. Quite a lot accumulatively. I'm not saying a lot in like each bunch of monthly amounts, but accumulatively quite enough. Because they appreciate what I've been doing here and they are the regular guests. Of course, it's a challenge because despite people being used to paying for subscriptions to online services, there's few people who are used to paying subscriptions for event-based experiences. So you have to be a little bit creative about how this works and try to think, does it work or not? So one example that I have had based on my fermenting past has been having a kimchi or ferment hotel. So I have offered to make or show how to make ferments such as kimchi, and then I hosted for them until they wanted. So the smelly part is here. The result is to them.
Kimchi hotel sounds
Right?
Yeah.
So that's worked. So I have one friend who subscribes to that support level in Patreon, and every time I meet them, I give a jar of kimchi. Right?
You know, there was this Finnish service like Mecenati
Yes, I know.
thing. I don't know what's the state of it at the moment, but
Well, that the thing about those ones is they're goal based. So that means you have a project which you want to get funding, and then
it's not like a
you accumulate
thing generally.
Of course, there are other ones now. Mecenati started as a goal-based one, as a local alternative to Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So like there has been many models to ask your friends or your peers or the people who think what you're doing is worth it to give some money. Finding the right one is a hard question. And then in the end, how do you deal with it actually legally? So in the end, I have reported my incomes from Patreon via the the Vero tax return update. So I gained this income through Patreon as extra income, and it gets adjusted into my annual tax.
Well, yeah.
So that's the way to deal with it, right? And you know, it's a strategy. It's an approach.
No, you're probably the first artist I'm talking with who is actually using this type of a system. So it's interesting too.
But that's because I will not get public funds to do something in my bedsit. Let's just use this term to emphasize it, right? So it's like you have to come up with alternatives. And I have tried different projects to try to get public funds. For example, projects which deal with Lialati Bay area, not in my house, but Lialati, the nearby sea bay. Or to think about how you might work with home libraries instead. So home libraries going somewhere else from here, etc. But it's not worked, and I keep coming up with new strategies. But this year, one person supported me. I don't know. Let's say about 600 euros over the year, and it allowed me to have summer residents who don't pay. In fact, in one case, I even gave money to help them come here, so they could have a short residence in Helsinki, on the basis of that support. You know? So again, you can make culture happen, and you can support small, modest level cultural exchange on resources that come from grassroots up. We are so used to, in Finland, having this top-down funding, you know, and the competition of applying for funding, right? And it concerns me, living here for now over 20, or having address here over 20 years, and so being familiar with the local scene, that the traditions of participatory, self-organized or grassroots-made culture is being slowly eroded, because we are all getting used to the idea either of having a cultural foundation grant give us money from top down, or even juries from Taike giving us money top down, and I'm sorry to say, some people will not even do their arts practice unless they get a grant, because the project is complicated, or it involves a lot of media production, or it's expensive to do this thing there. And that means that we start to restrict ourselves as creative people, because of the systems that we are benefiting from. If you don't have those resources, what are you going to do? Are you going to just stop? And that's the challenge I want to make here. Like, you can still do stuff, but you have to swap the logic of how it gets supported to the other way around. So that you start from what you've got.
Yeah.
What do I have? What can I do culture with? What materials do I have in abundance? What resources do I have? What is it that allows me to do something? And from that basis, you make your art practice.